Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our viewers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. This week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, April 15th, 2022. On the front page, a beautiful picture of two people at the Neepawa sports dinner. Shane Gauthier of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and hockey player and Olympic gold medalist Kristen Campbell were the guest speakers at the 13th Annual Community Sports Dinner and Auction in Neepawa on Friday, April the 8th. Here they are having a little fun as they exchange the gold medal and 2019 championship ring for a little bit. So she's wearing the ring and he's got the gold medal on. This year's Neepawa Sports Dinner was a major success, especially considering the challenges that had been faced in order to make it happen. Normally an annual event to raise money for the Neepawa Titans Junior A hockey team, the dinner took place on Friday, April the 8th for the first time in 2 years. This year it was not only the sports dinner, but they also combined it with the Neepawa Titans Awards Banquet, which annually takes place at the end of the season to recognize the efforts of the team's players. Jamie Dembo, chair of the Titans Onside Committee, which organizes the event, said that the night went fantastically. It was awesome to see the community gather together again. Everyone had a blast. The speakers were great. Everyone was happy at the end of the night. And it goes on to say, Ken Friesen, head coach and general manager for the Neepawa Titans, echoed the sentiment provided by Dembo, sharing that it was a great night, very well attended, with great messages from the keynote speakers. Almost all the Titans players were able to travel back to town to be there for the evening as well. It was a night for them to be there as part of the community, Friesen stated, but also it was a night to celebrate the season we had. The attendance was similar to in past years, if not slightly higher. Over 200 people came out for the dinner. Ward Susky, member of the Onside Committee, added that there were some regulars who weren't able to attend because the date was decided upon on short notice, but they still had a great turnout. There were 3 featured guest speakers at the dinner this year. Winnipeg Blue Bombers linebacker Shane Gauthier, member of the female hockey Olympic team Kristen Campbell, and comedian Big Daddy Taz all spoke to the dinner attendees. Friesen expressed that their presentations all had an important message in common. They all said it differently, but in the end it was all the same message, he shared. The speakers talked about the importance of hard work, following your dreams, and not letting anything get in the way of your goals, which really resonated with Friesen and were great lessons for the young adults in attendance. Another notable part of the evening was naming the Neepawa Sports Person of the Year. For 2022, Landon Cameron was recognized with the honor, and a full article on that is on page 13, which I will read later. Part of the night's fundraising endeavors included the auction. Dembo noted that it was a bit smaller than usual as they only had 6 items up for sale. However, all the items were either donated or mostly sponsored, so almost all the money earned in the profit was net profit. In total, the 6 items brought in just over $3,000. The Neepawa Titans annually choose a non-profit organization to receive a portion of the profits from the evening as well. And this year, Dembo noted that they chose the NACI Tigers football team. Members of the team helped out at the dinner with setting up, cleaning up, and taking down tables at the end of the night. Dembo noted that they wanted to get the team out to the event to be able to see the Grey Cup and meet bomber Shane Gauthier. The Titans decided to donate $750 to the Tigers, which will help the team with expenses such as equipment and travel costs. The official numbers for how much the event raised overall was not available before the banner and press deadline. And here are some pictures from the sports dinner. It was very well received, with co-featured guest speaker Kristen Campbell, along with Shane Gauthier of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, sharing stories. As well, Big Daddy Taz entertained the crowd. And here, the dinner was catered by the chefs from High Life Foods. To go along with these festivities, the player awards for the Neepawa Titans were also handed out, and those pictures will appear in the next issue of the Banner and Press. So on the next page here, we do have the article about Landon Cameron. Part of the Neepawa Sports Dinner held on Friday, April the 8th, was the presentation of awards to athletes and volunteers in the community to recognize the dedication and effort they put into their respective sports. One of the biggest awards given on the night was the Sportsman of the Year, which annually recognizes a person in the community who has contributed significantly to sports within the Neepawa area. This year, the award went to Landon Cameron, General Manager and CPGA Golf Pro for the Neepawa Golf and Country Club. Neepawa Titans board member Jamie Dembo said that Cameron was an incredibly fitting recipient, noting that he does a lot of work with youth programs at the course to help more young people get into the sport. In addition to his involvement in the local golf scene, Cameron also coaches hockey, runs the Breakfast Club morning hockey program for kids, and coaches baseball in the summer. He is super involved in the community, Dembo stressed. The Banner and Press had a chance to speak with Cameron on the acknowledgement. He stated that he was caught off guard when he heard his name called. Completely unexpected, was a very humbling experience. I don't like to be recognized that way when there are so many other people that have helped me with all these programs. It's an honor for sure, but there has been a lot of people that have helped, and they all deserve to be recognized as well. Cameron cited Ann Kaharski as the brains behind starting the Breakfast Club about 12 years ago. He also was quick to single out Jason Sumner, Stefan Lapointe, Ryan Smith, Kelly Evans, Matthew Lowry, Chris Jacobsen, Rodney White, and the Neepawa Titans and Farmers for being instrumental in getting the breakfast program to where it is. As well, Cameron said that growing up, he saw his parents volunteer and give back in all sorts of ways in sports in Boissevain. He stated that taught him from a young age that giving back is one of the most rewarding feelings that there is. And there's a picture of Jason getting the Sportsman of the Year award. Presenting it is Ken Pearson. Nice. All right, Neepawa on board with Food Cycler project by Aaron Devereaux. An Ottawa-based company is creating new technology to dispose of food waste in households, and Neepawa is hoping to help them improve its efficiency. On Tuesday, April the 5th, Town Council approved a partnership with Food Cycle Science, which has created a new piece of machinery known as the Food Cycler. The Food Cycler is about the size of a bread maker and able to compost food, reducing its weight and volume by up to 90%. That would keep large portions of unused food out of landfills. On average, about 50% of household waste is composed of food waste. Potentially, the use of a food cycler could reduce trash tonnage, extending the life of a community landfill or reducing local hauling and tipping fees. The machines work by drying and grinding food waste into an odorless, nutrient-dense byproduct that can be used as fertilizer, added to a garden, a lawn, or existing composting system. A typical cycle takes between 4 and 8 hours for the food waste to become completely dehydrated and processed. Because the food cycler pulverizes and aerates the organic matter as it breaks down, methane gases are not released at all. Currently, there are 33 other communities across Canada that have agreed to similar pilot programs with food cycle science. The program sees 100 households agree to using the food cycler for a 12-week period. Residents who sign up to participate would receive a subsidized unit and will track their usage over those 3 months. Each unit typically sells for approximately $500, but through this pilot program, residents will only need to pay around $150 to obtain their unit, and they will be able to keep the appliance after the program is completed. The initial idea for being involved with the Food Cycler pilot program was brought forward and championed by Neepawa's Economic Development Officer, Marilyn Crew. After several discussions and further research into the technology, Chief Administrative Officer Colleen Sensation stated that Town Office was encouraged enough by the concept to bring it forward to Council. Following several discussions we've had this year with Food Cycle Science, they agreed that Neepawa would be a great fit for the pilot program, said Sensation. If we pilot this and see how effective it could be, there is a possibility that it could reduce expenses and gas emission targets and things like that. Sensation also added that the food cycler could, over the lifetime of the appliance, divert up to 2 tons of food waste per household. Upon learning about the technology, Council agreed with the administration that pursuing a partnership with Food Cycle Science was worth their time and effort. In total, 100 food cycler units will be part of the pilot program in Neepawa, which would begin on September 1st and conclude on December 31st. As well, 10 additional appliances will also be purchased for distribution at local schools or assisted living facilities. Any households interested in participating can contact the town on this project at a later date. Sign-up information will be made public sometime in the late spring or early summer. And here we have a picture of the Minnedosa Arena that is being built. The construction of the Minnedosa brand new arena has been moving along at a steady pace. While there is much more to be done, the site is likely to instill excitement within sports enthusiasts. There's a picture of it right here. Guest dissatisfied with response. Bed bugs found at a hotel and reported to Manitoba Health by Casper Werhan. Neepawa's Bay Hill Inns and Suites reportedly left a literal mark on April the 8th, according to an account by comedian Big Daddy Taz Norris, who had been in town for the Neepawa Titans annual sports dinner, said he woke up from a pre-show nap with welts covering his body. Bed bugs were then discovered in his room. According to Taz, the front desk was notified along with a few Winnipeg Blue Bombers who were also in Neepawa for the dinner. Bed bugs were reportedly found on the carpet, curtains, and beds of 3 of those 4 rooms. Contact with the manager of the establishment was made, and later in the weekend with the front desk again. Taz noted on his social media account that he was dissatisfied with the overall response, including the observed continuation of checking in guests while the situation was being addressed on April the 8th. Neepawa Titans team president Ken Waddell said, "We made alternate arrangements with our guests, so they didn't stay at the motel. The incident has been reported to Manitoba Health so it can be dealt with." He added, "Our guests were very gracious to us, as we had no idea there was a problem at the motel. We have had guests stay there many times." Yeah, we don't like to hear those stories. Next is about the Rotary used book sale being back again by Kira Patterson. The Neepawa Rotary Club is once again gearing up for one of their major fundraisers. The annual used book sale will be taking place this year from May 3rd to 5th, running from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. each day. The club's book bins are back out in the community for people to donate their used books. We're avidly looking for books, shared Murray Newton, one of the Rotarians organizing the sale. He noted that they do have a number of books still in stock from past year's collections, but they are happy to get more donations to add to this year's selection. The drop-off bins can be found at several businesses in Neepawa, including Gill & Schmall Agencies, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op Food Store, Neepawa Home Hardware and Building Center, the Royal Bank, and Arts Forward. This year we'll see a change of venue for the book sale. It will be taking place at the Yellowhead Center Arena, whereas in the years past it has taken place at the United Church Christian Education Center. Newton explained that a major factor in the change had to do with logistics. At the arena, we don't have to deal with stairs getting the books in. With the setup of the arena, they will be able to use forklifts to move pallets of books in, which will allow for less heavy lifting for the volunteers. Hopefully, we will make it easier for us setting up, Newton expressed. He added that the other benefit to using the arena is that there is more space. Not only will the larger space allow them to put more books out on display, but it will allow shoppers to be able to spread further apart. The used book sale is one of Neepawa Rotary Club's largest fundraisers every year. Last year, their sale brought in over $3,300. Newton noted that he hopes they can match or surpass that amount this year. All the proceeds from the sale go back to the Rotary Club to allow them to support local projects and organizations, as well as international humanitarian efforts. All right, I'll come back to that. And next we have Out of Helen's Kitchen. And this year, Helen Drysdale's article is about Easter bread. When the prairies were being settled, it was the European immigrants who proved to be the best settlers for the challenging prairies because of their familiarity with agriculture, rural lifestyles, and harsh climates. The largest immigrant groups who we now call the Ukrainians. They kept their beautiful traditions of faith, song, dance, and food alive in their new country. These honored customs played an important part of our prairie heritage. One traditional custom is the blessing of the Easter basket of special foods, each food having a biblical and symbolic meaning. The basket, with its beautiful embroidered cloth, contains the essentials for Easter breakfast. It always contains breads, which represent Christ, our bread of life. Pascha is an Easter bread shaped in round loaves. The traditional Pascha had lovely dough patterns on them. The raw yeast dough is twisted into religious symbols such as crosses and placed on the bread to be baked together. An egg wash is used on them to give them a lovely shiny look. Tradition has it that when the baker of the Pascha is making the bread, that their thoughts must be kept pure. Babka is a sweeter, softer Easter bread that contains raisins and often dried mixed fruits. The word babka is diminutive for a baba, or a Ukrainian grandmother. It is baked in tall cylinder loaf tins. I use tomato juice or coffee cans to make mine. Churchgoers at Easter Sunday Mass greet each other with, I can't read that because it's in Ukrainian, but it means Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. As you celebrate Easter, may you remember God's perfect love for all mankind and see everyone, regardless of race, color, and creed as people worthy of God's selfless love. Wishing you Easter blessings of love, hope, peace, and good health to you and your family. And Helen has the babka or baba bread recipe. Now, I'm not going to read all of these names, but the Gladstone history has the grades 1 and 2 and 4 and 5. This one, the grade 1 and 2, is from 1950 to 51 from the Gladstone Public School. And this one is from 1952, grades 4 and 5 from the Gladstone School. Next is another history article entitled Dragoons Trained Area Citizens 60 Years Ago by Casper Werhan. Approximately 60 years ago, Neepawa and area lads were hard at work in militia training. The 12th Manitoba Dragoons had come to Neepawa in late 1961, starting the first of 4 rounds of survival training courses. Each round of courses were held over several weeks under the Dragoons' guidance, with graduation ceremonies taking place at the end of each one. The 12th Manitoba Dragoons originated in Brandon on July the 1st in 1903, when they were given authorization to be formed. It was organized as a 2-regiment unity, with the first of the non-permanent active militia order of battle and the second on the reserve order. It was later amalgamated with the Border Horse, retaining its designation. Several redesignations followed in the years after the amalgamation until it was transferred on December the 31st, 1964 to the Supplementary Order of Battle. The Dragoons were also a perpetuation of the 95th Battalion Manitoba Grenadiers of 1885 to 1892 and the 32nd Overseas Battalion. As such, they hold battle honors for the Northwest Rebellion, South African War, World War I, and World War II. The following entries from the Neepawa Banner and Press archives are a couple of excerpts from articles that appeared in regards to the exercises conducted in Neepawa and the surrounding area. So these are the following 3 actually. The first one is from December the 15th, 1961. Take a raw civilian, give him 6 weeks of intensive drill in arms, first aid, survival techniques, rescue and map use, and you have a member of the first graduating class of a special militia training plan sponsored by the Canadian Army across Canada. 50 such trainees were inspected and congratulated at a graduation drill and march past held in the airport armories Thursday morning. Part of a nationwide 5-day-a-week training program, 3 more such courses will be held at the beginning of the new year, with the final one to be staged in May. On Friday, February 16th, 1962, all but a handful of the trainees in the 2nd Special Militia Survival Training Course, which ends today in Neepawa, attended the graduation parade Thursday, despite blizzard conditions, like we have today. Conditions that kept away most of the invited guests, including Officer Lieutenant Colonel E.M.D. Leslie. Substituting for the absent colonel, former Army Major Jack Graves of McCreary, one of the men currently interested in forming a militia unit there, inspected the ranks and took the salute in the march past. More than 40 men were to receive their graduation certificates and their final pay in a mustering out parade. For many, however, it will not be an end to military disciplines. 16 have applied to enroll in the local squadron of the 12th Manitoba Dragoons, and another seeks to enroll in the regular army. Next is an excerpt from February 27th, 1962. A training center was established at McCreary this week for the third in the winter series of special militia survival training courses being conducted across Canada, which got underway Monday morning. The McCreary detachment has been designated as a troop of C Squadron of the 12th Manitoba Dragoons, which is under the command of Captain John Kerr of Neepawa. 36 men qualified for training in the McCreary troop, and another 35 are training at Neepawa. The special courses have consistently attracted large numbers of recruits since they started in Neepawa last fall. And the last excerpt is dated April 6th, 1962. Graduation parades were held Wednesday and Thursday for the two special militia training units, which have just completed their courses of training under the command of C Squadron of the 12th Manitoba Dragoons. The McCreary unit was inspected Wednesday morning by Lieutenant Colonel C.V. Lilly, Assistant Adjutant and Quartermaster General for the Manitoba area. The Neepawa unit was inspected Thursday morning by Lieutenant Governor A.H. Innes, Commanding Officer of Target Area HQ near Portage. Of the 38 who started the course at McCreary, 36 finished, while 30 out of the original 33 completed the course at Neepawa. One dropped out for medical reasons, and the other 4 were called back to their regular civilian jobs. So we have a couple of pictures. Here is militia trainee trooper D.E. Forsyth receiving a few pointers from instructor Corporal E.G. Puhawk on dismantling the Army's new FN rifle at the Neepawa as part of the special militia training program that got underway across Canada in the 60s. Both basic and survival training was being taught in the 6-week courses. This photo was taken in November of 1961. And pictured here and down here are some of the individuals who participated in the training exercises. Look at the cars. All right, next we have a few pictures from the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair. The Carberry 4-H Beef Club was well represented at the 2022 Royal Manitoba Winter Fair Junior Cattle Show. There were 4 members as well as 3 future 4-H'ers who showed cattle, made new friendships, and had loads of fun at the fair. All of the kids worked so hard to have their cattle looking their best for all of the people who visited the stalls. They are looking forward to our achievement and steer sale, which will be held July 1st to 3rd during the Carberry Fair and races. Here we have a picture of Madison Nicolation with her Angus heifer, NYK Betsy 30J. And here we have a young individual by the name of Lucas, who is showing off his entry for the cattle show. And here we have future 4-H'ers in the Pee Wee showmanship class, Elena Bagansky, Riley Nicolation, and Paisley Barron. Next we have an article about the Neepawa Postal Service by Casper Werhan. Neepawa will be celebrating a big milestone in 5 years' time. Come 2027, it will have been 150 years since postal services were established in the community. Although Neepawa's postal services did not get a permanent home until 1908 or 1909, when an office was built along Mountain Avenue, it had temporary locations in past years, starting in 1877. This was with Mr. and Mrs. John Graham handling mail in their house for a group of 17 settlers. The post office shared a space with the customs office at one point as well, until 1921, after which the postal services transferred to a new building on October 9th, 1971. A record of postmasters kept until 1982, when a celebration of the post office building's 100th anniversary was held. And it lists the following individuals: J.J. Hamilton, Alfred Dalton, J.J. McFadden, W.F. Young, E.J. Harris, William Wigmore, George S. Blackwell, John G. Nye, Wesley E. Davidson, Arthur J. Willis, C.R.M. Hobday, J.M. Barker, Lauren Buchanan, and Terry McIntosh. If anyone has photos of these individuals working at their post, pun intended, the Banner and Press would be glad to receive them. Any photos and details can be sent to news@neepawabanner.com or newsroom@neepawabanner.com. April is Cancer Awareness Month. According to the Canadian Cancer Society, cancer is the leading cause of death in Canada and is responsible for 28.2% of all deaths. 2 in 5 Canadians are expected to be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. There has been a 50% decline in prostate cancer death rate since its peak in 1995. In 2021, the 5-year survival for cancer was found to now be 64%, up from 5% in the early 90s. Thyroid cancer incidence has been decreasing after rates increased for many years. The decline of mortality rate for lung cancer is now comparable between sexes for the first time since 1984. And this 2-page article shows all the sponsors in our town and surrounding communities that have helped make this page possible. Okay, a little bit more sports. Bombers battle Mercs in Minnedosa. The Minnedosa Bombers recently played the Warren Mercs in a pair of semifinal games as part of the Manitoba Cup Senior Hockey Provincial Championship. In Game 1, Warren defeated Minnedosa 8-7. In the second game in Minnedosa on Friday, April the 8th, the score was won by the Bombers won by the score of 4-3. Because the series was a 2-game total points series, the team had to play into overtime, with the next goal advancing the team to the provincial final, with Warren scoring that winning goal. The Manitoba Cup is on Sunday, April the 10th. The Warren Mercs, that's already happened, yes. So the Warren Mercs beat the Boys of Ain Border Kings 7-6 to claim the provincial crown. Wow. Next, we have the Carberry North Cypress Lanford page by Gladwin Scott. This week's community profile is on a person named Daniel Glazer. Daniel Glazer, 18 years old, is a member of the 2022 Carberry Collegiate graduating class who has been involved during the last 2 years in the carpentry apprenticeship program. Daniel Brower encouraged him to take advantage of this course. He works part-time with Excel 7, and they are currently building 4 duplexes in Shiloh. Daniel is one of 11 siblings. Whoa. His father, Alex, is a dental technician. Daniel enjoys hands-on activities and liked the power mechanics course. He really enjoyed his varsity volleyball team and Coach Blaine Hall. They played a variety of teams. Other activities for Daniel include a hobby farm and the accordion. Glazer also sings with their 25-voice youth choir. Future options are obtaining his carpentry levels and travel. His family immigrated from Germany to Steinbach when he was 4 years old. Next, Here and There by Gladwin Scott. Congratulations to the Barron family, Earl, Randy, David, and Joel, and their respective spouses and families, for receiving the Bank of Montreal Award at the recent Royal Manitoba Winter Fair in Brandon. Agassiz MLA Eileen Clark recognized the Barron family in the Manitoba Legislature Wednesday, April the 6th. The family was one of 6 recognized at the fair, with a luncheon, group photos, and special seats at the evening horse jumping events. Although spring is here, it is also the time when competitive curling rinks make changes to their lineup. Some rinks that are disbanding and or making changes include Mike McEwen, who is the Manitoba champion, Jason Gunlison, Matt Dunstone, Mackenzie Zacharias, who is the Manitoba champion from Altona, Kevin Cooey, who is the Canadian finalist, Brendan Botcher, Jennifer Jones, Tracy Fleury, and Brad Gushu, who is Canadian champion. Tracy Fleury will not return to her rink and has joined up with Rachel Holman. I'm not sure how much improvement the young Zacharias sisters, plus the 2 maritime curlers, will benefit from the 47-year-old curling guru, Jennifer Jones' addition. Darcy Robertson's rink will also go their own ways. Fleury, Robertson, and Zacharias all curled in the 2022 Manitoba Scotties in Carberry. Skip Reed Crothers, his newly amalgamated curling rink includes Jason Gunlison, Derek Samagalski, and Connor Negevin. They will likely be at Neepawa's Viterra Championship in February 2023, which will be held in Neepawa. Minnedosa Town Council approved an upgrade to the piping for their new recreation center by $93,014 after receiving correspondence from Crane Steel Structures. With the upgrade in high-density piping, the current total for the project is $8,892,414.44, including taxes. The municipality of Boissevain Morton has a new Parks and Recreation Board in place to take on recreation projects directed by the new community program planner, Wendy Giesbright. The Agassiz Youth Centre in Portage la Prairie will close in July. With declining counts in youth custody in the last 9 years, being only 30% occupied, the province has decided to move the incarcerated youth to the Manitoba Youth Centre in Winnipeg, which has been operating at less than 50% capacity for several years, Justice Minister Kelvin Goertzen announced. Presently, fewer than 90 Manitobans are at the centre. Canadian ratepayers were responsible for $37 million paid for extra police costs to remove the Freedom Convoy from the streets of Ottawa. The Manitoba minimum wage will be increased from $11.95 to $12.35 as of October 1st, 2022, which is still the lowest in Canada except for Saskatchewan. Librarians Laurie McNiven and Burl Brandt will start a new reading program for preschoolers aged 3 to 5 on Wednesday, April the 20th. Listen to a story, do a craft, and learn to love the library. The library is happy to have a baby change table added to their washroom. Canadian Film Day is also on April 20th. Join for popcorn and a Canadian film called Monkey Beach, whose theme is Indigenous voices. And now Gladwin is talking about baseball plans. With the snow melting and summer days on the horizon, baseball and fastball teams are preparing for the 2022 season. The first provincial tournament will be hosted in Brandon, June 2nd to 4th, to declare a high school champion. The Manitoba Senior Baseball Council, headed by Ross Tycoles of Reston, have confirmed several championships. Morden will host the AA League All-Stars July 15th to the 17th, with the Border League fielding 2 teams. The winner will advance to the 2023 Westerns. Wawanesa will host the seniors July 22nd to 24th. There are 2 divisions, 35 and over and 45 and over. Rivers will host the AA League champions August 5th to 7th. The Southwest League All-Stars will represent Manitoba at the Westerns in Saskatoon August 19th to the 21st. And the Elmwood Giants will represent the Keystone Province at the Nationals in Sydney, Nova Scotia, August 25th to 28th. And his last article is about their joint council. The joint councils of Carberry and NCL held their monthly meeting with Mayor Olmsted in the chair. The fire department confirmed that the official opening of the new fire hall will be Saturday, April the 30th at 11 a.m. The firemen's breakfast will be back on Saturday, June 18th, and the firemen's ball will be Saturday, December the 3rd. $6,000 in COVID-19 relief grants have been received by the Leisure Department for each of the halls at Carberry, Brookdale, and Wellwood. Grants for 60 pairs of roller skates have been applied for. Rentals and snacks will cover the student operator of the arena. 14 of 20 places have been filled for summer relief childcare for 10 weeks. A splash pad social will be held in the curling club Friday, June the 17th. The Zipline Fundraising Committee has an interesting campaign going involving donations. Contact Leah at 1-204-721-4311 or Deanna at 1-204-901-3483. If $18,000 can be raised by May the 1st, construction could have the project in operation by August the 1st. Okay. Oh, here we have a few more pictures of the Grey Cup. So here we have linebacker Shane Gauthier of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers getting a picture with fans alongside the Grey Cup on Friday, April the 8th. Gauthier and the Grey Cup spent the entire day in Neepawa, meeting with Mayor Blake McCutcheon and as one of the guest speakers at the annual sports dinner and auction. The Cup also made an appearance at several local schools during the day. And here we have several staff and representatives of the town of Neepawa as they got their picture with Gauthier and the Grey Cup in front of the county court house building. Nice. Maple Syrup Festival makes a return by Ken Waddell. The Manitoba Maple Syrup Festival had a sweet return to McCreary on April the 8th and 9th. A $20 wristband provided a range of fun and tasty items for festival visitors. In addition, a visitor could feast on pancakes and, of course, maple syrup, a maple chili lunch, a supper, and for the sweet tooth, there was the famous maple sugar candy on a stick. There are several maple syrup producers at McCreary. Bob Gass's sugar bush, with over 1,000 trees being tapped to collect the sticky sweet sap, is the largest one. 3 teams of horses pulling wagons ferried people out from the McCreary Golf Course to the sugar bush. Tours were offered, and old and young alike took turns to bake bannock on a stick. The bannock tradition is an ancient one dating back to First Nations, Métis, and fur traders. In addition, there was a craft and food market in the hall. There was entertainment at various times on Saturday, a petting farm, and a dance in the evening. Friday evening there was an outdoor movie. The The cool, windy weather may have chilled the outdoor activities a bit, but the warmth of the bannock fire and the warm hospitality at McCreary shone through to make for a great day. Last year's festival was more of a virtual event due to COVID-19 restrictions, but this year was a triumphant return to an in-person event. And here we have a couple of pictures. Families gathered around the campfire to roast their bannock on a stick, proving that simplicity can be a winner at the 2022 Manitoba Maple Syrup Festival in McCreary on April the 9th. 1,000 trees were tapped and 1,800 buckets dotted the surrounding bush as seen in the background. And here, good. The expression on the taffy tasters' faces tell the tale. The sap boiled down from 40 to 1 and then gently cooked to soft candy stage. The candy syrup is poured onto a clean bed of snow, twirled on a stick, and then savored for too short of a time, all part of the admission price at the Manitoba Maple Syrup Festival. That sounds like that was fun. Okay, we'll go back to this page. So, first we have Right in the Center by Ken Waddell. His views are expressed in this column. They are personal views and not to be taken as being the views of the banner and press staff. The problems my wife Christine had last year with health issues gave us the opportunity to learn new things about our own health and the Manitoba health system. We have mostly recovered and we are both very thankful. Generally speaking, our healthcare system is amazing. Sometimes we have delays, especially compared to the United States, but nonetheless we have an amazing system. There is one improvement that has been severely hampered by COVID-19 rules. That improvement is the need for greater adoption of having every patient have an advocate. The healthcare system is great, but it can be difficult to work your way through without somebody alongside, be it an extra pair of hands, an extra set of eyes and ears, and most of all, an occasional need to speak up on a patient's behalf. Especially with a multi-hospital situation and so many staff and shifts, patient details often get missed. Usually no big stuff, but things do get missed. Every parent needs a caring advocate. Could a spouse, a sibling, a parent, or a volunteer, but it needs to happen. In normal times, that is before COVID, patients in hospitals and residents in care homes would often have a spouse, a child, or a friend to help out, to stick up for them. COVID rules and precautions might have been well-intentioned, but the results have been far from good. I personally know of an elderly man who couldn't have any family member visit him for 2 weeks after he was admitted to the hospital. That process certainly didn't help. He tested positive for COVID upon entering the hospital, placed in an isolation room. Even with these precautions, no visitors were allowed. The family was prepared to have someone be with him 24 hours a day and limit visitors to 2 and only 1 at a time. They would have worn protective gowns and masks and been willing to be tested, but not allowed. There are hundreds of examples where people were more lacking in care than they needed to be, lonelier than they needed to be, and in many cases died because of unintended neglect. Nobody in the health care system wished this situation on anyone. Nobody maliciously set out to cause harm with bad rules, but it happened. It shouldn't have, but it did. It shouldn't happen again. There were so many things done wrong with COVID that we need to absolutely learn from the mistakes. Having care home resident or hospital patient advocates is a must. It would make for better care, better results, and take stress of the employees. It has to happen along with rules that make more sense. There is another thing we are thankful for, and that is Good Friday and all it stands for. Jesus was born, and we celebrate that at Christmas time. But today is Good Friday, and at first glance, it's always been tough for me to see the good part. As we look closer, it is indeed good that Jesus died on the cross for us, and even better that he rose on Easter Sunday, a savior for all people. Jesus is often also spoken of as an advocate. We need an advocate in healthcare to help people make their way through. Fortunately, Jesus is more than willing to be our advocate from birth to death and beyond for each of us, but Jesus also instructs us to be advocates for each other. We must never lose sight of that, especially in healthcare. And next we have Homebodies by Rita Friesen. It's titled Je me souviens. The slogan on the Quebec license plate is one that applies to so many situations in life. I am not certain what it is that the citizens of that province are called to remember, but the phrase flows easily on laundry day or when I am placing the dishes in the dishwasher. I remember is what it means. I remember when the water was pumped into buckets, poured into pots on the stove, and heated for laundry day. I remember melting snow for washing in winter. I was always amazed that the white snow had so many dirt particles that settled out when melted. The earliest washing machine I recall was electrically operated, not by a stationary engine. I have pictures of my grandmother using one of those. The water was poured into the tub, hot as possible for the whites, soap added, and the agitator engaged. The wringer was effective, and woe to the one who lost concentration and allowed the fabric to wrap around the hard rubber rollers rather than flow through. I remember that. A long-handled wooden spoon made removing garments from scalding water doable. Some folks had a rinse tub into which the clothes fell from the wringer. Others had a surface on which they were placed until all the washing was done, and the machine filled with rinse water. Each load entering the wash tub was progressively darker in color and usually dirtier. The last load, the overalls or the chore duds were put in. The water was drained into buckets and in our early years carried upstairs and dumped outside. I remember dragging that stupid wash tub upstairs to dump it outside. Each load entering the wash tub was progressively, It was delightful to carry the laundry on the line on a spring, summer, or fall day, not so much in the winter. In winter, stiff garments were carefully unpinned from the wash line, carried indoors, and draped over chairs and tables until they thawed enough to bend and hang properly. As I dump a load into my washer, set the dial for the desired results, and walk away, I remember. I choose to line dry most of all the washing, using a fluff cycle to soften them. Outside lines are often as possible. The clothes hang inside when necessary. As I remember, I give thanks. The dishwasher is another appliance where I murmur, Je me souviens, or I remember. The first dishwashing machine I recall was Mom at the table using plastic basins, one for washing and one for rinsing the dishes. The drying rack was a towel on the table beside the basins. For the dryer was a child trying to keep up with the constant flow of dishes through the wash and rinse cycle. That water too was heated on the stove and dumped into a bucket for disposal outside. Man, I remember how quickly the water cooled, how, again, one washed the dirtiest dishes first and progressed to washed the least dirty first and progressed to the pots and pans. Grunge water at the end, greasy film, yucky. Water carried in and out was respected. Now, after several days and a count of how many cereal bowls are still clean in the cupboard, I reorganize the dishwasher, press a button, and walk away. Je me souviens. Extrapolate that to showers and tubs. Okay, Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine. It's entitled TFD-15. For residents of the United States, today is Tax Filing Day, or TFD. We in Canada have another 15 days before our tax returns are due. If you haven't started this annual ritual, I suggest you do. April 30th will be here long before we know it. For most of my working life, I have completed my own tax returns. I use computer software that checks my return for mistakes, and I keep past assessment notices close by so that I don't make any claims that have been previously disallowed. While using computer software has made this task much easier, it is still an agonizing process. In recent years, Canada's tax laws seem to have changed more often than I change my socks. Keeping up with the changes and figuring out how they apply to me and my family is an ongoing challenge. And when one has income from multiple sources, as I do, each source of income must be properly identified and accompanied by the required paperwork, making the process even more agonizing. So I prepare my tax returns using the same process I use with these columns. I spend most of one day entering data for my own return and for those of my wife and stepson. Then, after checking everything over, I wait 2 or 3 days before giving them a final review, signing and submitting them to Revenue Canada. This year's tax filing was delayed by almost a month. As people my age will know, a glitch in Service Canada's reporting system caused serious problems with the 2021 T-slips issued to seniors. When this glitch was discovered, most of the 2021 T-slips had been printed and were ready to mail. The mistake had to be corrected, which it was, and the slips had to be reprinted. Mine arrived at the end of March. So now the agony begins. I hope it will be replaced by ecstasy in the form of a sizable refund of amounts deducted at source, but nothing is guaranteed at this point. I will be the first to admit that paying taxes ranks near the bottom of things I enjoy doing. But over the past few years, my views on taxes and paying them have changed a lot. In the business world, we identify certain expenses as the cost of doing business in a town, city, or province. These include license fees, insurance, workers' compensation, and the expenses incurred for continuing education and professional development. Personally, I like to think of the taxes I pay as the cost of living in this country and enjoying the privileges I have as a Canadian citizen. The most important lesson I have ever learned during my time on this planet can be summarized in these words: there is no such thing as a free lunch. You and I will pay the full cost of every privilege we enjoy and every service we receive in this country. Some costs are paid directly, as when we pay a merchant for products we purchase. Others, like the rent we pay on a house, apartment, or piece of equipment, are paid indirectly. A portion of our rent goes to the cost of building or buying the item we are renting. The remaining costs are paid in partnership with all Canadians through federal, provincial, and municipal taxes. It's not a perfect system, but it beats the alternative, and it forces us to examine the relationship that should exist between people of faith and governments in all periods of history. You and I will do that beginning next week. The next little article is called Observation by Addie Oberlin. Soon we will be remembering. We think about what Jesus had to endure. He knew that he wanted to obey his Father and prepared himself for the most cruel punishment for something he was not guilty of. I think also of the people who were killed while they had done nothing wrong, and all the families who had to separate and flee for their life with their children. Many do not speak the language of the country they ended up in. Why is there so much anger and cruelness in the world? Why can we not enjoy the freedom that Christ has given us? By giving his life for us, let us uplift each other and prepare ourselves for the biggest celebration that is coming and available for each one of us. Jesus endured the cross for you and me. When the Lord will set us free, we will be free indeed. Now, the last thing we have today is just another picture of the Gladstone history. And this one is a grade 1 class from 1948 and 49. There's too many people well, I guess I do have time, just in time, to read off their names. Pictured from back row, from left to right. Ray Wallen, Dorothy Tester, then someone unknown. Lynn Bird, Lois Rogers, and someone unknown. The middle row, Carl Larson, Donna Lynn Scott, Wayne Clayton, Dorothy Hare, Vivian Slade, and Alva Hanna. Front row, Dorothy Fauner, Lillian Galloway, Marilyn Huckle, Kathleen Kinley, Winifred Johnson, Edna Viney, Douglas Zerbin, and Wayne Sorensen. The unnamed individuals may be George Scott, Bernie Larson, and Leon Kondratuk. Those old photos, I don't know who's coming up with those, but there was 3 of them in this week's paper. All right, well, that is it for this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully everyone survived the storm, and hopefully we'll see you next week. So goodbye for now.